Welcome to the Quantum AI Coach podcast. I'm Gina, founder of Virtual World Coaching Academy.
I want to speak directly to you right now.
Yeah.
Yes, you.
Just you.
Right. I want you to think about that specific moment, the one that happens right before a massive breakthrough. You know the exact feeling I'm talking about?
Oh, everyone knows that feeling.
Yeah. You are about to sign that giant client you've been, nurturing for months. Or maybe you're staring at a dashboard and it's showing you're about to hit a new monthly revenue record.
The finish line is right there.
Exactly. I mean, you have done the work. You have laid the groundwork. You've sacrificed. You've planned. You've built.
Instead of elation.
Right. Instead of this wave of triumphant joy, what actually happens, your jaw tightens. There is sudden, almost inexplicable heaviness in your chest.
A hard, cold knot forms right in your solar plexus.
Yes. It's a clench.
It is a profound, almost paralyzing clench. And what's so maddening about it is that it makes absolutely no logical sense in the context of what you are actually trying to achieve.
Not at all.
I mean, you are getting exactly what you asked for, yet your body is bracing for impact.
It is the invisible ceiling. You hit it, you bounce off it, and then subconsciously you retreat. You sabotage the deal, you delay the launch.
You pick a fight with your partner.
Yeah, exactly. And society looks at you and says, well, you just need a better strategy. You need a bigger team. You clearly just need to hustle harder.
Which is completely wrong.
So wrong. And that's why today, as the voices behind the Quantum Insight newsletter, we are bringing you a deep dive into something that shatters that entire paradigm. We are exploring the concepts behind the Quantum ROI Method.
And we need to be upfront with you right now.
Yeah, this is not another discussion about business strategy or marketing funnels.
Far from it. This is a revelation of what is known as capacity architecture, which is essentially the literal physical infrastructure required to hold the success you are chasing.
Exactly. And my role today is to hold the visionary perspective of this material. I'm acting as the cosmic mentor here. I'm looking at your sacred contract. I'm looking at the sheer, unbridled potential of what you are actually meant to build and hold in this lifetime.
Because your ambition isn't random.
Right. It's a blueprint. It's a calling.
And my role is to act as the practical mystic. I am here to pull those high-level cosmic concepts straight down into your physical body. Because a blueprint is useless without a foundation.
You have to ground it.
Exactly. We are going to look at the literal neurobiology of your ambition. We are talking about your limbic system. We are talking about your vagus nerve. Because the spiritual and the visionary simply cannot stabilize without the biological.
So let's unpack the core thesis here, because it is the forbidden truth of this entire deep dive. Prosperity is not a result of your effort.
It's really not.
No, it is not something you get or hustle for or, wrestle to the ground. It is a direct, unavoidable reflection of your internal coherence.
Yes, it is the literal physical ability of your nervous system to hold high-frequency prosperity without short-circuiting.
So when we look at the physical reality of this struggle, we have to ask a very strange question. Why does expansion feel like a threat?
Right. When we look at those specific sensations you just mentioned, that jaw tension, the tightness in the solar plexus, the heaviness in the chest, we have to understand what the body is actually doing mechanically.
Is not a mindset block.
No, this isn't weakness. It is not a character flaw or a lack of willpower. It is your nervous system doing its job perfectly.
Wait, perfect?
Perfectly. It's just operating on severely outdated coding. Your biology has accidentally identified high-frequency prosperity as a mortal danger.
Okay, hold on. I have to challenge that premise right out of the gate. If my conscious mind is screaming for this breakthrough, if I literally need this money to pay my mortgage or fund my dream, why on earth would my biology reject it?
I know, it sounds crazy.
It makes zero evolutionary sense. Money solves problems. It doesn't create them.
Well, it makes perfect evolutionary sense when you realize your brain wasn't built for modern capitalism. It was built for the Pleistocene epoch.
Okay, fair point.
The limbic system, which is the emotional and protective center of your brain, does not distinguish between the physical threat of a predator and the psychological threat of a changing identity.
Oh, wow.
Let's break that down. When you step into a new echelon of success, you are leaving the familiar. To the ancient, survival-driven parts of your brain, the familiar equals safety, period.
Even if the familiar is terrible.
Exactly. Even if the familiar is incredibly stressful, even if the familiar is broke, it is known. You have survived it so far.
Right.
The unknown, even if it is massive wealth, success, and freedom, is categorized as an unpredictable variable. And in the wild, unpredictable variables get you killed.
So it categorizes this new success as a threat.
Yes. It initiates the clench. It physically constricts your breathing to prepare for a fight. It floods you with cortisol and adrenaline. It is physically trying to stop you from entering the unknown.
So you were sitting at your laptop, totally safe in your home office, looking at a Stripe notification or a contract, and your body literally thinks a tiger has walked into the room.
Functionally, yes. Your heart rate variability drops, your pupils dilate, blood moves away from your digestive tract and into your limbs so you can run.
From a Stripe notification.
Right. From a biological standpoint, signing a massive contract and fleeing a predator trigger the exact same physiological cascade if your nervous system hasn't been calibrated to hold that new reality.
And this is where the grand illusion of hustle culture completely falls apart. We are constantly told that when things get hard, the answer is more effort.
Just push through it.
Yeah, push through. But if you try to force expansion on top of a contracted nervous system, you are quite literally fighting your own survival instincts. You are going to war with your own biology.
Which is an unwinnable war. You are stepping on the gas and the brake at the exact same time.
God, that sounds exhausting.
It is. You're telling your business to go 100 miles an hour while your nervous system has the emergency brake pulled all the way up. The friction is immense.
So burnout isn't just a possibility.
No, it is a biological inevitability.
I want to offer an analogy here. Let's shift from this idea of effort-based income to what we can call resonance-based prosperity.
I love that term.
Business, at its highest iteration, isn't supposed to be a struggle. It is a sacred transmission. It is an emanation of who you are.
Beautifully said.
Imagine trying to pour an entire ocean of abundance into a tiny metal thimble. Your soul's desire, the quantum field, the sheer volume of prosperity that is available to you right now, that is the ocean.
Right.
But your nervous system capacity, bound by that primal clench, is the thimble. The water pressure alone would crush it. If your physical body treats your next income tier as a predator, how can your business ever be a place of peace?
It can't. Because the architecture of your nervous system is actively repelling the very thing your conscious mind is trying to attract. It's a structural impossibility.
Which means we need a new structure. We need to talk about the science of the shift.
Let's do it.
Now that we understand the biological miscategorization of prosperity as danger, how do we actually change the signal we are broadcasting?
Well, a lot of the foundation for this shift relies on the research of Dr. Joe Dispenza regarding heart-brain coherence.
Yes.
Dispenza's work provides a crucial mechanical understanding of what spiritual traditions have talked about for millennia. We throw the word alignment around a lot in business and personal development space, but Dispenza maps this out literally.
He grounds it in science.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He talks about aligning our thoughts, which are a function of the brain, and our feelings, which are anchored in the heart.
But let's clarify that, because it sounds a bit like a poetic metaphor.
Yeah.
You know, align your head and your heart.
It does sound fluffy.
Right. Sounds good on a bumper sticker, but what is the actual physics behind it?
It is entirely measurable physics. The brain communicates primarily through electrical impulses. The heart, however, communicates largely through a magnetic field.
A literal magnetic field.
A literal, measurable magnetic field. In fact, the heart's magnetic field is substantially stronger than the brain's electrical field, and it can be measured several feet outside the body using a magnetometer. So when your thoughts, your conscious desires for success, for wealth, for impact, align with the emotional state of your heart, feelings of gratitude, safety, expansiveness, you create what is called a coherent electromagnetic signature.
So you are basically acting as a unified broadcasting tower.
Precisely. You are broadcasting a unified, powerful wave into the quantum field. Think of it like a laser beam. A laser is just light, but it's coherent light. Meaning? All the photons are moving in the exact same phase and direction, which gives it the power to cut through steel. Normal light, like a light bulb, scatters everywhere. It illuminates, but it doesn't penetrate.
So what happens when there is no coherence?
Yeah.
What happens when you are caught in that clench, when you are terrified of the next level but desperately trying to hustle your way into it?
You generate what is known as static.
Like trying to tune into a radio station, but you're caught exactly between two frequencies. It's just agonizing white noise.
It is the ultimate internal friction. Because you are consciously sending the electrical signal, right? You're thinking, I want wealth. I am ready for the big client. I want this breakthrough.
That is the brain firing.
Yes. But emotionally, physically, your nervous system is sending a massive, overwhelming magnetic signal. It's screaming, I am unsafe. Do not let this change happen. Stay hidden.
Oh, that's heavy.
When the brain says yes and the body says no, the resulting electromagnetic signature is completely chaotic. The waves cancel each other out.
So nothing happens.
Nothing happens. The quantum field, or reality itself, cannot reorganize to match you because there is no clear pattern to match. You are a corrupted file.
That reframes the entire concept of return on investment. If we're talking about quantum ROI, we have to throw away the standard financial jargon. Quantum ROI is not your bank balance?
No, the bank balance is a lagging indicator. It tells you what your frequency was 6 months ago.
Right. The true quantum ROI is the velocity at which your internal alignment translates into a visible flow of prosperity.
The velocity, I like that.
It is the speed of materialization. When you clear the static, when you achieve that heart-brain coherence, the manifestation of your wealth vibration accelerates. You aren't forcing the result through hustle.
You are simply removing the internal resistance that was delaying it.
Exactly.
You know, to make this abstract science undeniable, there is a fascinating real-world case study from the sources we need to look at. It perfectly illustrates the static in real time.
It's a story about a hidden wealth trigger.
Right.
Yes.
The banking error story.
Oh, I love this example because it exposes the exact moment the primitive brain hijacks reality. Let's walk through it.
Sure.
So there's a person sitting with a very close friend. They're hanging out, totally relaxed, and the friend casually pulls like their bank statement on their phone to show them something.
Just a normal day.
Right. But by some complete, absurd administrative banking error, a massive life-changing sum of money, we're talking millions, had been temporarily deposited into this friend's account.
Now let's pause and look at the logic of the situation. Logically, nothing has changed in the room.
Nothing at all.
It's an error. The money isn't real, it's just pixels on a screen. The dynamic between the two friends is physically exactly the same as it was 10 seconds ago.
But the reaction wasn't logical. The person looking at the phone describes a sudden, violent, visceral reaction.
A literal gut punch.
Yes. The moment their eyes registered those numbers, they felt a sharp, agonizing tightness in their stomach. The world tilted. They felt this immediate crushing weight of inadequacy and panic.
But we have to ask, why the stomach? Why that immediate physical drop in the gut instead of just a fleeting thought in the head?
Because the body is reactive.
Because the observer was subconsciously translating that wealth into an immediate power shift. The gut is largely governed by the enteric nervous system, which is incredibly sensitive to safety and threat.
The unconscious whisper in their head was, he's rich now, and that makes my position uncertain.
Yes. The story of who?
And I want you listening right now to really sit with this. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever felt that sudden pang of anxiety or nausea when a peer announces a huge success?
Everyone has.
Right, that heavy sinking feeling of being behind someone else. We dress it up as competitiveness, or we shame ourselves for feeling jealous or petty. We think we are just being a bad friend.
But the reality goes much deeper. That is your nervous system capacity speaking.
It is entirely primal. Let's look at the neurobiological framework firing in that split second. The unconscious rule that activated in the brain was, when money dynamics change, I am no longer safe.
To understand why this happens, we have to talk about the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
The filter of reality. Break down the RAS for us, because this explains why we literally cannot see opportunities when we are in the clench.
Gladly. The RAS is a bundle of nerves at our brainstem. Its primary job is to filter out the millions of bits of sensory data hitting you every second so you don't go insane.
The bouncer for your brain.
Exactly. It only lets through information that is deemed important. A classic example is when you buy a new car, say a red Honda, and suddenly you see red Hondas everywhere.
They were always there.
But your RAS just started flagging them as important.
But who decides what is important when it comes to money and success?
Your survival programming does. Let's go back 10,000 years. If you lived in a tribe, your survival depended entirely on belonging to that group.
If you were exiled, you died. Period.
Right. And to stay in the group, you had to adhere to the social hierarchy. If you suddenly amassed way more resources than the chief, or if you challenged the status quo, you became a threat to the tribal order.
And you be cast out.
Your deepest, oldest programming still believes that staying within the financial norms of your social tribe is strictly necessary for survival.
So if your peer group makes around $100,000 a year and you suddenly decide you want to make $10 million, your brain sees that ambition not as success, but as a fast track to exile and death.
Exactly. Your RAS will constantly scan your environment for evidence that stepping outside those norms is dangerous.
Wow.
So when that friend's bank account suddenly spiked with millions of dollars, the observer's RAS screamed, "Tribal dynamics are shifting. You are now subordinate. The hierarchy has broken, and you are vulnerable."
It is an ancient brain mechanism filtering reality to prove that staying small is the only way to stay safe within the pack.
That's exactly it.
That is profound. So the clench, that horrible feeling of anxiety and jealousy, is actually an ancient bodyguard. It thinks it is saving your life. It is just wildly out of context in the modern prosperity field.
It's a bodyguard that doesn't know the war is over.
In the story, though, the person didn't just accept the tightness. They didn't just swallow the jealousy and walk away. They traced the pattern back to its root.
They did the work.
And the psychological breakthrough they found is the key to this entire deep dive. They realized, I don't need to be subservient to serve.
That is the crux of the shift. The underlying belief was that if someone else had more wealth, more power, or more status, they had to shrink their own energy to remain safe and in relationship with them.
It was a zero-sum game of energetic dominance.
But the moment that tension was processed, the moment they realized they could hold their own sovereignty regardless of the other person's wealth, their own income began to scale immediately. Because the static was gone. The capacity to sit across from massive wealth without shrinking or going into a trauma response was finally stabilized in their physical body.
Which brings us to the physical antidote. We can't just talk about this intellectually.
No, intellectualizing doesn't work here.
Right. Understanding the RAS is great, but if your stomach is in knots, knowing why it's in knots doesn't necessarily untie them. We have to rewire the architecture.
We have to move into the body.
There is a specific low-friction move designed to do exactly this. It is called the coherence calibration practice, and we are going to walk you through it right now, because the shift from subservience to sovereignty has to happen in the flesh.
It absolutely cannot be an intellectual exercise. You cannot outthink a survival response. Have you ever tried to tell someone having a panic attack to just calm down and be logical?
Oh, that never goes well.
It doesn't work. The language of the limbic system is not English. It is sensation.
Okay, let's unpack the coherence calibration step by step. Step 1, locate the static.
This is where we start.
I want you to literally close your eyes for a second, right now, if you're somewhere safe to do so. Picture your current financial goal, the big one, the one that feels like a massive stretch, the one you barely want to admit you want.
Let it come up.
Now, scan your body. Where is the clench? Is it locking up your jaw? Is it a fluttering, nauseating panic in your stomach? Is it a tightening across your shoulders? Find the exact physical location of that resistance.
This first step is crucial because you are bringing conscious prefrontal awareness to an unconscious physiological reflex. You are mapping the terrain of your own limitation. You are shining a flashlight into the basement.
Step 2, breathe into the void. Visualize that clench as a dense knot of energy. And here's the deeply counterintuitive part. Do not try to fix it.
Don't fight it.
Don't go to war with your own body. Don't judge it. Just witness it.
If we look at this through the lens of nervous system regulation, trying to fix, suppress, or fight an anxiety response actually confirms to the brain that the threat is real.
Right, because if you're fighting it, it must be dangerous.
Exactly. It requires action, therefore it must be dangerous. By simply witnessing it, by breathing into it with curiosity instead of judgment, you are sending a radically new signal to your brain. You're saying, I see this intense sensation, but I am not in danger.
You are breaking the feedback loop of panic.
Yes.
And then we move to step 3, the frequency shift. This is where we introduce a specific psychosensory technique called havening.
This is where the magic happens.
The instruction is to gently stroke your arms from your shoulders down to your elbows. You repeat this downward cycle in slow, deliberate 1-second intervals. And as you exhale, you imagine that dense knot dissolving into a warm gold light.
I want to spend some time on this. Because to the uninitiated, stroking your own arms while imagining gold light sounds like, new age nonsense.
It sounds a bit out there.
But the hard science behind this specific movement is undeniable. We are tapping directly into Dr. Stephen Porges's Polyvagal Theory.
Yes, please explain the mechanism here.
Yeah.
How does a light touch on the arm rewrite a subconscious financial block?
Think about the skin on your arms and face. It is packed with specific sensory receptors that originally evolved to detect social touch, like a mother holding a child or primates grooming each other in a troop.
Right.
When you stroke downward at that specific rhythmic 1-second pace, you are mimicking the exact frequency of mammalian soothing. Those receptors send an electrical impulse straight up your spinal cord and directly into the amygdala, the alarm bell of the brain.
So it's a physical override switch.
Exactly. It mechanically generates delta waves in the brain.
Delta waves.
Delta waves are usually only produced during deep, dreamless, restorative sleep. By generating them while you are awake, you are physically forcing the parasympathetic nervous system, specifically the ventral vagal complex, to come online.
Wow, so you're hacking your own biology.
This touch literally unplugs the brain's defense mechanisms. It aggressively lowers cortisol, it increases oxytocin and serotonin, and it physically shifts your brain out of defense mode and into growth mode.
And the gold light.
The not dissolving into gold light is just the psychological visualization of a very real neurochemical cascade that is washing away the static.
You're physically, chemically convincing your biology that it is safe to expand.
Yes.
And then, as the body softens, as you enter that growth mode, you deliver the affirmation. You give the newly regulated nervous system its new instructions. You say, I have the capacity to hold this expansion. My nervous system is a sovereign container for infinite supply.
The language there is incredibly deliberate. A sovereign container.
Off.
You are no longer reacting to the tribal dynamics of the pack. You are no longer shrinking to make others comfortable. You are establishing your own self-governed capacity for wealth.
So let's look at the practical application of this. Once the body is moved into growth mode, once the static is cleared and the coherence is calibrated, how does this alter the actual day-to-day reality of running a business?
It changes everything.
We have to connect this profound physical calm to strategic speed. There is a concept here that completely changes the way we look at leadership. Decision velocity in the prosperity field.
When you change your biology, the mechanics of how you make high-level decisions fundamentally change. In growth mode, high-level decisions actually become easy. And neurologically, this is absolutely accurate.
But wait, why would they be easier?
Yeah.
A complex business problem is a complex business problem, whether I'm stressed or calm. The variables don't change.
The variables don't change, but your brain's processing power does.
Oh, I see.
When you are in defense mode, when that clench is active, the blood flow in your brain literally physically moves away from the prefrontal cortex.
And the prefrontal cortex is the logical part.
Right. The prefrontal cortex handles logic, long-term planning, creativity, and empathy. The blood rushes away from there and goes toward the amygdala and the brainstem to prepare for fight or flight.
So you literally can't think straight.
You are biologically, structurally incapable of seeing the big picture because the hardware required to see it is temporarily powered down.
Oh, wow. So you are trying to play 3D chess, forecasting market trends and managing employee dynamics, while your brain is literally powered down to the level of trying to outrun a bear?
Exactly.
No wonder decision-making feels so exhausting. We agonize over spreadsheets, we endlessly deliberate, not because the problem is unsolvable, but because we're using the wrong part of our brain to solve it.
But when the vagus nerve is clear, when you use havening to shift into growth mode, the prefrontal cortex comes fully online. All the blood and oxygen flood back into your executive center.
That makes so much sense.
And this is where we have to drastically reframe the concept of intuition. We often hear about trusting your gut-brain intuition, and society often paints intuition as this soft, mystical, unquantifiable feeling, something highly emotional and illogical.
Right, like just go with your gut. It sounds like terrible business advice when millions of dollars are on the line.
It's terrible advice if your gut is in a trauma response. But if your nervous system is regulated, it is the most sophisticated tool you have.
How so?
The gut contains millions of neurons. It is literally a second brain. It is constantly processing environmental data, microexpressions, market patterns, and historical data exponentially faster than your conscious linear thought can.
So it's crunching the data.
When your nervous system is in a sovereign state, your gut-brain intuition is a highly tuned pattern recognition supercomputer. Decision velocity increases not because you are being reckless, but because you aren't second-guessing every move through the slow, muddy filter of fear.
You perceive the pattern, you align with the outcome, and you act instantaneously.
Precisely.
I want to challenge you right now listening to this. Think back on your past business struggles, the times you felt hopelessly stuck, the times you procrastinated for months on a launch or wavered endlessly on firing a toxic client or hiring someone who could help you scale.
We've all been there.
Were you actually lacking data? Did you really truly need to read another book, build another spreadsheet, or buy another marketing course? Or was your nervous system simply too overwhelmed by defense mode to process the right choice?
That is the real question.
I'm willing to bet the data was there, the path was there, but your capacity to hold the weight of that decision was compromised by the static.
That is a profound realization, to realize that your bottleneck isn't knowledge, it's physiological capacity.
It's biology.
But the truth is, even after you have that realization, even after you clear the static today, life happens, business happens. You get a rude email, a deal falls through, you get tired.
Right, you slip back.
To maintain this newly achieved decision velocity, you need a system to catch the subtle, sneaky ways that self-sabotage tries to return. Because the clench will try to sneak back into your daily operations. It is a deeply ingrained habit.
Which brings us to a really innovative strategy for maintaining this state. And it involves a tool we usually associate with the exact opposite of emotional awareness, the AI energetic mirror.
Yes, this is a truly modern application of externalizing your conscience.
We hear so much about using artificial intelligence for content generation. We use it to write emails, draft sales copies, summarize articles. We use it as an output machine.
But the framework here suggests using AI as a fair witness.
A fair witness. I like that.
A completely neutral, unbiased mirror to track your quantum ROI and monitor your nervous system capacity. Let's look at the specific AI prompt design for this.
The prompt is structured like this. You type, "Act as my quantum success coach." I'm going to share 3 recent business decisions and how I felt making them. Identify my energetic signature. Am I acting from a resource state or a lack-based shadow? Point out where I treat prosperity as a pressure instead of a possibility.
Let's break down why this is so effective. First, you are sharing 3 recent business decisions and the feelings behind them.
Right.
You are giving the AI both the electrical data, the logical decision itself, and the magnetic data, the emotional state you are in. You are asking an algorithm to read your electromagnetic signature based on your language.
And you are asking it to evaluate if you are in a resource state or a lack-based shadow.
Yes. A resource state is growth mode. It is coherence. It means your language reflects abundance, clarity, and safety.
And the shadow.
The lack-based shadow is defense mode. It means your language is betraying an unconscious belief that there isn't enough, or that success is dangerous.
But the most revealing, devastating part of that prompt is the final instruction. Point out where I treat prosperity as a pressure instead of a possibility.
It's a brutal mirror.
Oh, that is so exposing. Let's talk about that. How often do we finally get the thing we wanted? The big client signs, the certain influx of sales hits the account, the virality happens, and instantly it feels incredibly heavy.
It feels like a burden.
Yes, we immediately think, well, now I have to deliver. Now I have to maintain this impossible standard. Now everyone is looking at me and I'm going to be found out as a fraud.
Imposter syndrome kicks in.
We take the ultimate possibility, the very thing we prayed for, and our nervous system crushes it into a pressure.
And the beauty of using AI for this diagnostic is its complete lack of emotional entanglement. If you ask a friend or a mentor to evaluate your decisions, they might sugarcoat it because they love you.
Or they might project their own stuff onto you.
Or worse, yeah, they project their own financial shadows and fears onto you. The AI doesn't care. It simply analyzes the linguistic patterns of your input.
It's just looking at the words.
It spots the subtle qualifiers in your sentences, the hesitant phrasing, the underlying anxiety woven into your words. It catches the invisible leaks in your frequency before those leaks manifest as tangible financial plateaus.
It is the ultimate diagnostic tool for your capacity architecture. It keeps you honest, it stops you from drifting back into effort-based hustle, and pulls you right back into resonance. Because you can't fix a leak you can't see.
And if we connect this all the way back to where we started today, back to that physical clench in the jaw and the heaviness in the chest, this entire methodology is connected.
It all comes together.
Understanding the RAS, the coherence calibration, the havening technique, the AI energetic mirror, it is all about one singular goal: proving safety to the body. It is about rewiring the biology so the soul can actually do its work without resistance.
We are reaching the emotional climax of this deep dive. When you synthesize all of this, it leaves us with a massive reflection, a quantum reflection.
A big question.
I want you to ask yourself, if your current financial energy, the way you run your business right now, were a movie, who would be the director?
That's a great way to frame it.
Is the director your highest soul self, operating from a place of vision and sovereignty? Or is the director a deeply frightened version of you that is still just trying to prove its worth to the tribe?
That is the ultimate question of coherence. Is your life being directed by possibility, or is it being meticulously managed by the defense mechanisms of your past?
What is the one scene you keep replaying in your life that creates a vacuum in your abundance?
We all have one.
Is it the feeling of being smaller than your peers when they talk about money? Is it the deeply ingrained belief from your childhood that hard work must equal suffering, and if you aren't suffering, you aren't earning it?
You have to identify that scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Identify that scene, recognize the static it creates in your electromagnetic field, and realize that the shift you have been waiting for, the breakthrough you have been grinding toward, is not a destination.
It's not over there.
It is not waiting for you on the other side of a revenue milestone.
Mm.
It is a state you inhabit right now. It is a frequency you stabilize in your physical body today.
The wealth vibration does not start in the bank account. It starts in the nervous system.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to chew on. We spent this entire time talking about your nervous system, your electromagnetic signature, and your capacity.
Right.
But think about this. If your nervous system is actively broadcasting a magnetic field several feet outside your body, what happens when you enter a boardroom?
Oh, that's interesting.
What happens when you get on a Zoom call with a potential client?
Mm.
If you are in a sovereign, coherent growth mode, but you walk into a room with 3 other business partners who are deeply entrenched in defense mode, whose nervous system wins?
That is a powerful concept.
Are your nervous systems competing? Or does your coherence have the power to entrain their static and pull them into resonance with you?
It changes the entire dynamic of a room.
That is a whole different level of capacity architecture, and it is the true secret of magnetic leadership.
Your capacity doesn't just hold your wealth, it holds the environment around you.
If you are ready to stop chasing and start containing wealth, I invite you to assess your current money block burdens using the Burden to Boundary AI tool and get a personalized set of 3 prompts to use immediately. Click the link in the description and let's turn your inner coherence into your most powerful asset. Celebrate the expansion. It is already irresistibly underway.
Your capacity is built, the static is clearing.
So as you sit there right now, take a breath. Feel the space where that clench used to be. Notice how much more room there is for the ocean to pour in. The architecture is ready. The field is waiting. What will you allow yourself to hold next?
So when Gina offered me the opportunity to do this, I jumped for it because I think anything that you can do that is going to chip away at these limiting the beliefs of things that hold you back is really, really worth doing. So it's been a really lovely experience, and if anybody's a bit worried about it, just do it, because the opportunity to connect through havening is really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful.
But really helpful, I think, in terms of having that kind of guided process just to kind of let the ideas and the feelings and the images flow, and then try and work out what it actually means afterwards, and to come up with, and it made intuitive sense. It's really, really helpful to then kind of have that debrief of, okay, what can we actually do with this stuff? Because that's where we tend to get stuck, is kind of like coming out of it going, oh, this is all some really interesting ideas and thoughts and feelings and images. But yeah, then, you know, how can we actually harness them to do something different? And I think that's been really, really helpful in terms of clarifying really what I need to prioritize to go forward in a way that will deal with some of that stuff that came up.
I would like to point out that I'm actually a therapist myself, and sometimes therapists also need a therapist. So I was really stuck, and then one day a friend posted a link for Gina's wealth and money attracting short course, and I went, this sounds great, I'm just gonna book it. And I loved it so much. I really had an epiphany on that course, and it was only meant to be a demonstration, and yet it was really it just opened up something, possibilities that I was stuck before, and now like, ooh, I can use this to unstuck myself. I'm a great believer that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And you appeared at the right time. That's all there is to it. So, you know, if anybody is watching this video It means Gina has appeared in your life. So please give it a try.
She walks where the sky meets the sea, a calm in the chaos, wild and free. Light wraps around her soul. She's ready